Wade to meet with you, and is the mineral deal sorted out?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me, and I understand that's a big deal, very big deal.
The peace process appears to be underway, and that's a good thing. There's been all kinds of talks about minerals. We get some minerals. What kind of minerals are we getting? Are we getting some vitamins for $100 billion? Let's talk to a couple guys who know so we don't sound stupid when we talk to our friends. Joining me now, Thomas Corbett-Dillo, former advisor to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and my friend Wade Miller, executive director of the Center for Renewing America. Thomas, let's start with you. We keep reading articles about how we're going to get some minerals, but normal people don't know what any of that stuff means. What are we getting? What's happening?
Well, Ukraine has one of the richest lands in Europe, really. So the potential there is massive. They have obviously lots of raw earth minerals that are needed, in everything that is built, especially now that we're trying to build everything in America. It's going to require a lot of importing. But I think this is important because people don't realize that America gave so much money to Ukraine without a guarantee. The Biden administration basically said, here's all the free money. Meanwhile, Europe was saying, here's money, but we want this, we want that. So it's actually good. Trump is going back into time and saying, well, actually, I think we deserve something in return for all the cash we gave you guys.
Wade, we were told, at least Zelensky was caught on camera, he was actually giving a speech saying, I'm not giving any of this stuff up. There'll be no mineral deal. And it seems like about 5 minutes later, he's flying to Washington, D.C. to sign his name on the dotted line. What happened?
Well, I think Trump happened. I mean, Trump is the master of this type of foreign diplomacy. He just needs to turn a few screws and make them aware of all the different levers we can pull. But I'll also point out that this isn't just about getting paid back, although that is a big component of it. One of the risks of making a peace deal here is later then being called, Chamberlain, if something sparks back up. We also don't want to add them to NATO. So what does this do? It gives us a significant financial interest that is a signal to Russia and Ukraine as well that if they try to spark up things, now they're messing with our financial interests and our investments. So it's kind of a soft power move to ensure that this deal is workable and that later on Trump isn't getting called names by the radical left and claiming that he's Chamberlain or some sort of an appeaser.
Wade, let me stay with you for a quick second. Who is they? Meaning, who gets this money? Who's operating these things? We kind of forget that the devil is oftentimes in the details. Is the United States government going to start running mines over there in Ukraine? How does this benefit me, the American taxpayer?
Well, at the end of the day, after a deal is set, what will probably happen is some sort of bidding process that U.S. Firms will compete in. And I'm sure that there will be some sort of political component to make sure that this process is moving along. But this will mostly be private sector investment, private U.S. firms that will create jobs and opportunity over there, and also critically create different supply lines. Right now, we're overly reliant on China for a lot of different minerals. That's one of the reasons, for instance, that Trump is so interested in Greenland, is because of all of the rare earth minerals to make us less reliant on China.
Thomas, everyone knows by now, well, I shouldn't say everyone, most people know by now that back in 2022, there was a peace deal on the table, a peace deal reportedly that Zelensky was going to sign, Russia was going to sign, and then, well, the thing your country and my country have in common is our leaders told him, no, keep fighting, everyone needs to die first. Do you have the same military-industrial complex running your foreign policy that we do here?
Yes, unfortunately. And, this was pretty much the original military-industrial complex. A lot of these corporations have been around for hundreds of years. So you're right, there was a deal on the table. It was a good deal. It was a fine deal. And the fact is that not much has changed since that deal. As we saw Trump today say in the cabinet meeting, no land is going to be changing hands. They're not going to go and push Russia out of the land that it's taken over. That's Russian territory now. So the fact is that deal could have been done. It was sunk, unfortunately, by, we think, mostly Boris Johnson, which is a bit of a sad situation for him to be in. But it was this idea of him taking this Churchill style, never surrender type thing. Well, that was great during the Churchill era, but this is a very different war. And all that has happened is thousands of men have lost their lives. And I think that's a sad thing. So it's good that Trump is realizing that this is over and it's time to end it.
Gosh, that is a sad thing. All right, one final word on the Ukraine-Russia stuff before we move on to anything else. Wade, so it sounds like, from all the information I can gather, Russia won. Am I reading that wrong? They came in, they wanted a portion of Ukraine, the Russian-speaking portion of Ukraine. They bid it, they held it. They're not going to be removed from it. They've tried for 3 years, and in the end, they get what they want.
I think that's fair. I think that they certainly have the winning position. It may have been the case that they wanted more of Ukraine and that they didn't get that. There's a lot of reasons behind that are historical problems for logistic supply chains of the Russian military. They're more effective as a moving group or in defensive positions. But certainly at this point, Ukraine does not have the ability to move them off those lines. So it's really just kind of asinine to not take a peace deal seriously, to try to figure out a way to end this. The only other routes forward are just more endless suffering and death. And the end result to that could just be even worse, in which Russia could eventually take more land if they really wanted to. They have the ability to attrit Ukrainian forces through manpower and resources way longer than Ukraine can withstand it.
Yeah. As Napoleon said, quantity has a quality all its own, and we're seeing that now. Okay, Thomas, let's talk about your PM, Starmer. He's in the United States of America today doing the whole glad hand thing. Trump, it's so nice to meet you. But the United States of America has been very vocal recently, especially J.D. Vance, about some of the oppression going on inside the UK, which it's really bad. You see police officers arresting people for Facebook posts, and you say to yourself, man, is this the same UK we used to be friends with? How's this work?
Yeah, it's a shame. I'm very grateful that I moved to the US. I'm nervous every time I land back in England. I think they're going to come and get me for hate speech. But it's a sad state, and it's interesting to see what happens in the meeting. I think what we saw with Macron was interesting. He was love bombing the president. He was saying, "Oh, Donald, you're so great. We love you." Starmer can't do that. He's a socialist. He's been elected by socialists in our country. So if he came in and started doing that, he'd be a laughingstock back in England. So he's got a fine line to play, and I think the president is not going to be too happy with him, especially with some of the things he's said in the past. The special relationship is pretty much as dead as it's ever been, which is such a shame because we've never had a more pro-British president. The president's mother is Scottish. He loves the UK. He loved the Queen. And the fact is, it was our deep state that refused to engage with him in the first term and now is realizing, actually, we need to take this guy seriously, but it's a bit too late.
Yeah, that is a crying shame. Okay, Wade, wrapping this thing up here. Looks like the clean out has at least begun in our military. They have a long way to go. We got a new chairman of the Joint Chiefs. They're slowly but surely working their way through this pool of loser generals we have. What say you so far?
I think the DOD is moving in the right direction. We worked for the last 2 years, and by we, I don't mean DOD, I'm not at DOD, but a group of conservatives here in D.C. when Senator Tuberville put the holds on those military nominations over their abortion policy, a group of us started working to create dossiers on woke radical generals. And we handed over all of those materials. We urged caution to double check our work. We don't want to make sure that a good general isn't being thrown under the bus, that the allegations are fair, that there isn't some mitigating circumstance or explanation. And everything that I can tell is that they took that in good stride and have been serious about it. They did their vetting, and they're now making corrections to improve the DOD leadership. And I'm very excited about it. I expect that there will be further removals. We just saw today in the cabinet meeting, President Trump indicated that there's going to be more generals that are going to be replaced. And I think that's been sorely needed. And as you know, anyone below the rank of E6 and below the rank of O4 has been really complaining about the lack of seriousness in leadership in the military for years. And so we're taking the first stab at correcting that problem. And of course, it's going to come with a lot of pushback. But this reminder, this is very important, very needed to get our military back on the right footing.
Thomas, you got the same problem in your military over there? Because British military history is pretty freaking cool.
It used to be. I don't think we really have much of a military anymore. And what military we do have, the Royal Navy is currently waving the migrant boats in, come on in. Well, they're helping them. So I don't know if you can even call it a Navy anymore.
Oh, God have mercy. Both of you, appreciate you guys. Come back soon. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.